Welcome to High Oracle's Reiki Spiritual Healing Channel. And, I just wanted to make sure that you understand that, forgiveness is one thing. We can forgive. But when we have to understand that a spirit has been dispatched, since the times of Willie Lynch, maybe even before that, to our men to program them in order to harm the women so that they would be like the colonizers. Okay, so a lot of our women have been subjected to this type of abuse, for a very long time, which has broken their spirit. So the only way is to expose this spirit, Baphomet, this violent spirit, this spirit that is chaotic, this spirit that is in competition with any person that is better, than they are. That spirit that is that has been dispatched again by secret societies, all of these, nations that have enforced this type of, attack upon women. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you understand why I'm very lenient. I'm very lenient because it is not for me. It is not for me to bring you into, belief. But it is for me to bring you an example and show you where the enemy lies. What it has been up to for many, many centuries. So when we're dealing with these two types of, this spiritual warfare from secret societies that has implemented this type of spiritual warfare against the men, because if you do not have, the men warring against the evil spirit, warring against what they see is going on to their own people, then the women and the children are automatically subdued. So we don't have to make sure, we don't have to know that there's something going on in order that we're seeing these cycles in our mothers' lives, in our grandmothers' lives, and the women before them, that they are going to sacrifice all of the women, just like they did in Europe and America. They're going to sacrifice all of the women and some of the men who carry knowledge that they cannot encompass. They are going to attach these types of entities to you so that you will not be able to break out of those types of cycles, those patterns. You won't know what to do. You will be given something to you that will be meaningless when you apply it to your life. Okay, so right now I am standing staunch in the fire against any kind of negative energy that is attacking our people, that has been sent from these enslavers and colonizers, so that our men will not fight for their people, so that they will not fight against them for the land. That, they will be in this make-believe world. A lot of the women will stay in this make-believe world where they are in competition with other women for the men. They are in competition with, love and hip-hop, these pretend make-believe worlds. And again, let me make sure that I make myself clear, because, I don't like to be mean. I like to be precise. Okay, now just look at you. When you have, when you have decided to stay in this pretend world, then, your hair being straight, doesn't, matter to you. It becomes, it's easier to maintain. When you become a part of this pretend world, then, you will start to, act like these people. The drama that they have given you, it will play out in your homes. A movie, love and hip hop will play out in your relationship. You will pretend that you're better than someone, that you cannot encompass the knowledge that God has given, because you have been taken over by this entity, the Baphomet. You're afraid. You're afraid to stand up because of what will be taken from you, your job, your looks, your health, because you've had to sacrifice something in order to get, the gifts, in order to, become entertainers, to become athletes. You've had to sacrifice something in order to, become, the elite. In whatever profession, you had to sacrifice something to become one of the, this administration's leadership that is supposed to lead the Black people, and they cannot encompass some of you content creators with the knowledge that you have. Okay, now just look at you. So now we're understanding that when you are not taken over by these two entities, where you do not have fear of something that's going to be taken away from you, you do not have fear of what they can do to you. You fear the only Almighty God. Okay, so that's when we stop pretending. That's when we stop putting on fake stuff that's giving us cancer. That's when we stop pretending that we're going to stand up in front of, the men and lead them in church. That's when we start leading the women how to get married. You know what I'm saying? That these men have this type of attachment. This is why you cannot get married, because they have been promised by the entity to their women, to Azazel, to Baphomet. Okay, so this is what we are understanding here. So that's why you have to understand that when you're asking, to be pliant, and let's make sure that we understand what pliant means. That, I lean towards your way. Your way, I'm not understanding if your way is, in alignment with the entity. I'm not understanding if the men, I could not lean their way. That's why I couldn't stay married to them. I can't let you lead me and you do not have God in your life. I cannot let you lead the family and, be pliant with you and be laid back and chill with you and, let you lead me and you're leading me to nowhere. You haven't taken off the false stuff. You haven't taken off the false behavior. You haven't, come into alignment with God, that, He has given you the inspiration of your gifts, and nothing and no one else is to be associated with that. Okay, so we have to understand what these two entities represent. They represent that you want to, be like your ancestors. You want the days and the ways, the 1990s to be repeated. You want the ways of your ancestors, the juke joint, to be repeated with you, where, it is the beginning of when these entities were allowed to come into the church, when they were allowed to come into the home, and they were using these types of fear tactics in order to do sinful things and attach sinful demonic entities to you as a child, to wipe your knowledge, to keep the veil over your eyes, so that you will always, be enslaved to them. They will always be able to siphon your health. They will always to be able to siphon your financial energy, so that, you will become comfortable. You will become comfortable. You will make your children comfortable with these two entities. You will be afraid of the colonizers. You will be afraid of your sons. You will be afraid of the entities in your life. The men that is supposed to be the leadership and lead with the Godhead. So no, I cannot, tell you enough. I cannot tell you enough why I have to make sure that I'm praying for you, why I have become the enemy, why we need to make sure that this does not keep happening. You do not keep going over the pattern that you saw your grandmother going over in her health, coughing up mucus because her energy was being siphoned by one of these men. Now just look at you. Her energy was being siphoned for standing up by one of these entities. Okay, so what I'm telling you is not just the men. You can be attacked by the demonic spirit itself, the entity, the avowed enemy, Satan himself. And this is what is an enemy to me, because it knows that I know, and I've saw it, and I've saw it many times up on some of you, and I've cleansed it, and it has come for me, and and I broke it down. I'd rather be right here, right now with you, because I broke it down and I reduced it to its lowest form. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. When it came for me when I was on the block, this ain't what you want. When it came for me when I was in school, this ain't what you want, because I give the most praise to the Almighty God. If you want my life, then you come for me then. You come for me, because I put my trust in God, and he has the protection. He has the last and final say so. And anybody who do not understand where your bread is buttered, where your gifts come from, where your livelihood come from, where your children come from, where all the bestower of all gifts come from, then you are sadly mistaken. You are in a rut in your mind. And you need to understand that this entity has already saw you, and you're already in a position where you are comfortable. You're comfortable where you are. You're comfortable breathing in Mo. You're comfortable breathing in, the lies that they have given to you, that you're supposed to create drama. You're comfortable with your children being sacrificed every single day. And I know this because some of them have reached out to me, and I am seeing it in you that you will want to become relaxed. You don't want to fight. As long as you got some addictive substances, you don't want to fight. We've all fell short, but it's time to get up and stop playing with yourself. Either you're going to fight against the entity, and guess what that means? You're going to take a loss. He's going to take his gifts back. Whatever he's given to you, whatever you bargained for. So, you need to decide whether, you're going to listen and fall in line with God, so that you're able to keep whatever God inspires you with. Or you just going to, take a loss and cause your whole home, your whole household to fall into perdition. And I hope that you receive this message. So please like, share, and subscribe to me over all of my platforms. You guys get me heated. Okay? Book your one-on-one life sessions with me. Book your consultation so that I can acclimate a gift to your situation. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. I'm High Oracle, Reiki spiritual healer. Assalamu alaikum.